Tonight, I must tell you of the last great terror that threatened all of creation, the final monster that rose from the wounded earth itself. The war is over, Olympus gleams like a jewel against the heavens, and everyone believes the danger has passed. Zeus sits upon his throne, his siblings rule their appointed realms, and the new order seems secure. But deep beneath the world, something ancient stirs with rage that makes mountains tremble. Her name is Gaia, the earth herself, and she is not finished with her grievances. You remember her, don't you? The mother of all things, who gave birth to Uranus only to watch him become a tyrant, who helped Kronos overthrow his father, only to see him become an even crueler despot. Now her Titan children lie chained in Tartarus, and this final insult ignites a fury that has been building since the first dawn. From the deepest caverns of her being, Gaia brings forth one last champion, a creature so terrible that the very stones whisper warnings of his approach. Some say she bore him with Tartarus himself, that prison realm where nightmares take form. Others claim she shaped him from her own wounded flesh, mixing earthquake and hurricane with the bitter tears she shed for her defeated children. But all agree on one thing. When Typhon rises from the earth, he brings with him the raw, untamed power of the world's first chaos. Picture him if you dare, this last monster of the ancient world. He stands tall as mountains, his form a writhing mass of serpentine coils that seem to shift and change like smoke, given terrible substance. From his massive shoulders sprout not one head, but 100, each one different from the others. Some bear the features of fearsome beasts, lions with manes of fire, bulls with eyes like burning coals, serpents with fangs that drip venom. Others take shapes that defy description, nightmarish combinations that make the mind recoil from looking too closely. But it is not his appearance alone that makes mortals flee, and even gods pause in fear. From each of those 100 mouths comes a different voice, a cacophony of sounds that seem to contain all the world's discord. Some heads speak in tongues of flame that burn the very air, while others howl with winds that strip leaves from trees and sand from beaches. Thunder rumbles from throats designed for destruction, while others hiss with voices like grinding stone. Typhon is more than mere monster, dear ones. He is the earth's rebellion made manifest. The primal forces that existed before order and reason shaped the world. In his eyes burns the fury of every earthquake that has ever split the ground, every hurricane that has lashed the seas, every volcanic eruption that has painted the sky with ash and fire. He is what the world was like before the gods taught it to behave with something resembling order. The first signs of his awakening send tremors through creation itself. Sailors feel their ships rocked by waves that come from nowhere, while shepherds watch their flocks grow restless under skies that suddenly feel too heavy to bear. The very air seems to thicken with approaching doom, and wise oracles cover their mirrors rather than look upon the visions that dance in their depths. Then the unnatural storms begin. These are not the clean lightning bolts that herald Zeus's presence, but twisted tempests that seem to fight against themselves, winds that blow in impossible directions while rain falls upward toward clouds that bleed darkness. Mountains that have stood unchanged since the world's youth begin to groan and shift, their ancient stones crying out warnings that few understand, but all can feel in their bones. On Olympus, that newly built paradise where the gods believe themselves secure, an uncomfortable silence falls. Zeus feels it first, that sense of wrongness that makes his divine senses prickle with alarm. His siblings gather around him, these gods who have just won the greatest victory in cosmic history, and for the first time since their triumph, doubt creeps into their immortal hearts. When Typhon finally emerges in full fury, the world holds its breath in terror. He rises from the earth like a living mountain, his 100 heads weaving hypnotic patterns against the sky, while his voices join in a symphony of destruction that makes the very stars dim with fear. Where his feet touch the ground, the earth cracks and bleeds molten rock. Where his breath touches the air, storms are born that will rage for generations. Zeus, that young king who has known nothing but victory since freeing his siblings, faces his first true test as ruler of the heavens. This is not Kronos, bound by recognizable patterns of divine behavior, or even the Titans with their familiar strengths and weaknesses. This is something older and more fundamental, a force that existed before the very concept of divine rule was born. The thunderbolts that have never failed him fly toward Typhon like children's arrows toward a mountain. Some strike true, tearing gashes in that massive form that bleeds shadows and flame, but the monster seems to absorb the damage and grow stronger from it. Each wound heals almost as quickly as it appears, while those 100 voices laugh with sounds like breaking worlds. For the first time in his short but glorious reign, Zeus tastes something bitter and unfamiliar, the possibility of defeat. His fellow gods watch in growing horror as their king, their lightning-wielding champion, is driven back by sheer overwhelming force. Typhon advances like a living disaster, his presence turning day to twilight and making the very air too thick to breathe. The moment arrives when even mighty Zeus must make a choice that cuts against everything he believes about divine authority. Some say he and his fellow gods fled then, running to the far corners of the earth and hiding in animal forms, while Typhon claimed the heavens for his own. Others tell it differently, that Zeus alone retreated to gather his strength, while his siblings held desperate guard over what remained of their new kingdom. Whatever the truth, dear ones, this much is certain. The new king of the heavens learned that victory is never permanent, that power must be defended as fiercely as it was won. The lesson cost him dearly, for in that moment of retreat, Zeus discovered that ruling the universe meant more than simply being the strongest. It meant being ready to face challenges that could shake the very foundations of reality itself. But Zeus is nothing if not his mother's son, and Rhea had taught him well the value of patience and cunning. Rather than matching Typhon's raw fury with pure force, the young god begins to think like the strategist he was trained to be. He calls upon allies whose loyalty runs deeper than fear, upon powers that Typhon's chaotic nature cannot easily comprehend. Some say Hermes aided him, that swift messenger whose cleverness could outwit even the most ancient powers. Others speak of Pan, whose wild music could tame the most savage beasts or drive them into even greater frenzy. The exact details shift like smoke in different tellings, but all agree that Zeus learned to fight chaos not with more chaos, but with the kind of ordered intelligence that had won him the throne in the first place. The tide turns not in a single moment of glory, but through the accumulated weight of divine purpose pressing against primordial rage. Zeus returns to the battle with renewed understanding, his thunderbolts now guided not just by anger, but by wisdom. Each strike is precisely placed, targeting not just Typhon's body, but the fundamental forces that hold his chaotic form together. The final confrontation shakes the heavens to its core, but when the last echo fades, Typhon lies defeated beneath the crushing weight of divine justice. Most stories place his prison beneath Mount Etna, that fiery mountain whose eruptions, some say, are his frustrated roars echoing up from the depths. Others claim different peaks hold him, but all agree that the last monster of the old world has been contained, his rebellion crushed by the new order's superior organization. With Typhon's defeat, something fundamental shifts in the cosmic balance. Zeus and his fellow gods realize that their victory over the Titans was not the end of their struggles, but merely the beginning. The universe is vast and full of forces that do not recognize divine authority, powers that must be met with constant vigilance and carefully applied wisdom. The age of easy conquest is over, and the age of careful governance begins. The gods must now decide not just who rules, but how the world itself should be organized, what domains each divine being should control, and how to maintain order in a world that seems determined to return to chaos.